Hello, I'm Perez-Andreu with the Halle Perez Group, and welcome to our April 2026 market update for St. Johns County. Today, we're going to be focusing on single-family homes as well as condos, and we're going to be looking at the key metrics for both of those asset classes. We're going to be looking at closed sales, days on market, what the active inventory is, and then the month supply of inventory, which is going to help us articulate what the market is doing currently. So let's start with single-family homes. Based on the information that we're seeing for April 2026, we had closed sales of about 488 units. That's up 1.5% from March and up 2.1% from April of last year. So what does that really tell us? Well, even with the changing market, what we're seeing is that buyer demand in single-family home segment is still moving transactions forward. So sales activity is not surging, but it's showing resilience, and that's good for all parties involved. Now, when we look at the days on market, the average days on market for this particular segment in April was 32 days, and that's about 31.9% improvement over March, but that's still 10.3% higher than April of 2025. And that means that homes are selling faster than they were just a month ago. Which is also very encouraging both for buyers and sellers. But compared to last year, buyers are still taking a bit longer in those time decision-making points, right? So they're taking longer. And so it's really crucial that the property is priced properly, that the condition as well when you definitely go into a market. That matters more today than ever. When we're looking at our active inventory for single-family homes, what we're seeing is we've reached about 1,877 homes in April. That's about 13.8% higher than March, but still down 18.4% from last year. So month over month, we're seeing more choices coming to the market, but year over year, the inventory is still below where it was. So that kind of creates a more balanced. Buyers are seeing more options than they did recently, but not necessarily more than they had just 1 year ago. So, and finally, month supply of inventory. That's always a key metric. And what we're seeing is that the market's sitting at 3.8 months of inventory. And that's up 14.1% from March, but down 20.1% from just a year ago. And what this tells us is that while inventory is building from last month, the single family market is still operating with less supply than it had a year ago. So in general, this keeps markets more balanced than soft, though sellers still need to be strategic when they're pricing and they're putting their properties up for sale. Condominiums, that's definitely a whole shift in the condo market because this segment is telling a whole different story than the single family. In April 2026, closed sales for the condos totaled 52, and that's down 13.3% from March, but a whopping up 23.8% from April of last year. So compared to last month, the condo market slowed, but compared to just 1 year ago, there has been a meaningful improvement in sales activity. And this can happen when monthly activity fluctuates more in a smaller segment like condos. So when we look at the days on market, what we're seeing in the condo is an average of about 55 days in April. And that's a major improvement from March, but still 23.9% higher than it was in April of 2025. And that tells us that condo buyers move much more quickly this month than they did in March. However, compared to last year, condos listings are still generally taking longer to sell. Again, that points to a more deliberate buyer behavior. Now, when we look at the active inventory for this segment, there's 250 active condos listing in April. That's up 2.5% from March, but down 38.7% from March of 2025. So condo inventory is relatively stable month to month, but significantly lower than it was last year. That reduced inventory can help support pricing and then also create opportunities for well-positioned sellers. And lastly, month supply of inventory. For condos, that came in at 4.8%, which is up 18.2% from March, but it's still down sharply from what it was in April of 2025. Now, this is a major year-over-year shift. A year ago, the condo market had much more supply relatively to demand. Today, that supply has tightened, and it's tightened up considerably. even though it edged up from last month, it's still good. So let's wrap it up. Overall, here's what our big takeaways are. Single family homes, well, sales were slightly up, homes sold faster than last month, and inventory increased, but the market is still has less supply than it did a year ago. Now for condos, sales softened from March, but then we remain stronger than last year's days on market. So that has improved significantly from just last month, and supply remains much tighter than it did just a year ago. So both segments are moving, but they're moving differently, and they always have, and more than likely always will. So whether you're considering a sale, planning a purchase, or evaluating your next investment opportunity, understanding the market is the first step in making the right and smart decisions. Reach out to the Halle Perez Group for a personalized analysis tailored to your property and your goals. And let's build the right strategy for your next move. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Have a great day.